Hello, friends in the Pacific. This is Bill McKibben from 350.org. I wish I was there with you, obviously, but it's important that we're figuring out low carbon ways like this to communicate. And in any event, one can't be everywhere at once, and the climate crisis now is breaking out everywhere at once. As I talk to you today, it's the end of the day that saw new all-time temperature records in Germany, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in Paris, where 3 years ago we came together for the Paris Climate Accords. They set a new temperature mark that was 4 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than it's ever been in that city before. What all this means is that people are waking up to the idea that there's a climate emergency, finally waking up. It's taken many years to get to this point. And of course, the sadness is that we wasted those years when we needed to be taking action to keep things from getting to the horrible place where they've gotten. We can't get that time back. That means that we cannot waste any more time. I wrote the first book about climate change. It came out 30 years ago this year. And over those 30 years, we've seen that scientists have consistently underestimated how quickly and how hard global warming was going to pinch. We've seen, probably most crucially, that this has become not only the greatest physical issue the planet's ever faced, but the greatest metaphysical issue too, the greatest issue around justice that we've ever run into. Justice for generations to come, because we're depriving all of them of possibilities. Justice for the rest of creation. Those of us who are Christian, for instance, are called upon to remember that, at the very beginning of the Bible, God created all the other species and pronounced them good, and now we watch the rapid destruction of coral reefs and of so many other ecosystems around the world. The biggest justice issue, of course, is what's happening to the most vulnerable people on the planet, who are also the people who we should never forget have done the least to cause the crisis that we're in. And because of those issues around justice, it's really important that we get behind efforts like the Nadi Bay Declaration on the climate emergency. This is a very powerful manifesto, and it points out all that is underway at the moment. It points out the fact that in the nations that have poured the most carbon into the atmosphere, we're now seeing things go in reverse. In my nation, we're having to fight as hard as we can to try and hold in check people like Donald Trump, who are trying to turn the clock back on environmental progress. The same in Brazil, where we're watching the quick deforestation of the Amazon again, or in many, many other parts of the world. The election in the Pacific of the government of Australia that continues to want to expand coal mines is a slap in the face to everybody else in that region and in the world. All of that said, there are good signs too. The most important of those probably is the rapid fall in the cost of renewable energy. It makes it possible, if we wanted to, for us to take serious action fast. And the fact that people are pushing hard for that serious action. We kind of started the global climate movement about a decade ago, but in the last year it's grown with extra speed. We've seen Extinction Rebellion in Europe. We've seen the rise of the Green New Deal in the United States. We've seen these beautiful images of school children around the planet striking. And we're all going to get a chance to help with that on September 20th, which is a global climate strike for all ages. And I'm sure that all of you will be involved, because we need so much the leadership of the Pacific. This is the place that brought us the pledge to hold temperature increases to 1.5 degrees. It's because of the Pacific that we have that, and that's triggered the IPCC report that in turn has triggered so much activism. I remember last year being up on the ice sheet at Greenland. I'd taken Kathy Jetmil-Kajiner from the Marshall Islands there. I tried to arrange this for a while because her poetic witness was so important to me. And there she stood with one of her colleagues, a young Greenlandic woman, and they produced a just epic piece of poetry standing on the ice that when it melts will drown the Marshalls and so many other low-lying countries. And so it is with enormous thanks that we look at the way that the Pacific Islands have kept this fight alive, have refused to give up. I think about my colleagues, the Pacific Climate Warriors, whose slogan has been, "We're not drowning, we're fighting." And that fight could not be more important. So I am very glad for this declaration and will do my best to spread it around the world. And I'm very glad for the leadership that we see coming from this biggest of the Earth's regions. And I am very hopeful that we'll be able to come together with the kind of activism that produces the kind of political change that gives us a fighting chance going forward. Thank you so much for all that you are doing. And I very much look forward to following in your lead and working shoulder by shoulder in the years ahead to try and see if we still can slow down the climate emergency enough to give everyone a chance to survive and to thrive in this century. Thank you again so much for your leadership.